Good day, dear companions. Welcome. This is the first of my stories about my expedition into the southeast of Angola. And let me say that many expeditions start off as an idea, and it often lives in the mind for a long time before it comes to fruition. A lot of these ideas happened coincidentally. And so it was in this case. It was a chance encounter between old friends. I was driving through a country town on my way somewhere else when I came across two of my old wartime companions. Of course, I had to stop, and we ended up in Nick's Tavern on Joubert Street. It's a country town pub. It's artless, even crude by some standards, I guess, with animal trophies on the walls, and it offered the popular beer brands and rum and cheap brandy and whiskey. But it was nice for us to sit and have a beer and reminisce. Now, our war-fighting years were long past, but we kept addressing each other by our ranks, kind of a difference to those turbulent times that it was so crammed with experiences and emotions that are far removed from those that fill our everyday lives. But as the light through the doorway began to grey, I was looking for ways of extricating myself, because I didn't want to get involved in an all-night drinking session, and I still had a way to go. But then one of the guys, Franz, turned to me and rumbled at me in his nicotine-soaked voice, "You say you wander around wild places." I said, "I do, but it's getting hard to find parts of Africa that remain truly untouched." He said, and he reached for more pretzels and he spoke past the crunching. "You know, we once went into the southeast of Angola up along the Luyana River, and we were looking for possible crossing points. It was wild country. It was beautiful. We never saw a soul, only game, lots. But, that was almost 40 years ago." And then the barman pushed a fresh beer across the counter at him, and he lost interest. And the conversation took a different turn, and I left it. It was a chance encounter, and it was a passing remark, but it sowed the seed. And there was enough suggestion in it to stir my curiosity. And I started looking at maps. And the first scans encouraged me. Very few roads. It had been Jonas Savimbi and his UNITA movements stomping grounds during the war. And once the war had ended, maybe the victors up in Luanda had abandoned it, too far away and of too little interest to concern themselves with. Maybe it had returned to truly wilderness. And then now I started spending lots of hours to try and understand what's going on there, mostly on Google Pro. I zoomed in and out. I panned north, south, east, west, tried to identify roads and tracks and drainage lines, open areas with little dots that said there were human habitation, other open areas with tracks fanning out from them that said there might be water. And gradually I started getting an idea. I also, of course, consulted other maps, and then started eliminating areas where there were humans and concentrating on the ones that looked more promising from a wilderness perspective. And I had more conversations too. These were not of much assistance. One guy said, "The southeast of Angola, it has become a lawless place after Savimbi's death. It's infested with crooks and poachers, and it's rotten with corrupt officials." Another one said, "It's impenetrable. The few roads are impossible." Another one said, "It is madness to go there alone with only one vehicle. You will need protection." Most were rather indignant at the stupidity of the idea. Of course, it was beginning to appeal to me more and more. All of the guys I spoke to had never been into the area for 40 years, nor had they actually spoken to someone that had been there. So I wasn't paying too much attention to what they were saying. Everything was pointing to untouched African wilderness. There were really very few roads, only tracks, and some of them hardly visible. The few spots of human habitation were concentrated in clusters in places around the roads, the bigger roads, and along the perennial river lines. But there were huge areas that seemed like total wilderness. It was a huge area to start off with, all the way from the Kwitu River to the west, eastwards and south of the Luyana River up to the Caprivi. So eventually I said to myself, look, this is as much confirmation as you're going to get from what you've got. It's worth going there to take a look. And that, of course, triggered a lot of more detailed planning. And I'll tell you about that in the coming stories. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you join me for the next story next week.